I know you've heard this hundreds of times. Be patient, trust in God's timing. And I also know, deep in your heart, after all those years of waiting, that phrase sometimes feels like a knife twisting in a wound, rather than any comfort at all. But today, I'm not here to tell you to wait longer. Today, I'm here to tell you something completely different. Something that perhaps no one has ever said to you this directly. Your waiting season hasn't been prolonged because God is slow. It has been prolonged because God is building a foundation strong enough to hold everything that is coming. Pause for a moment. I need you to stop everything you're doing and just be here with me for the next few minutes. Because I know you're tired. Not the tired that comes after a long day of work, but the kind of tired that has seeped into your bones, the kind that even a long sleep cannot erase. The tired of someone who has prayed with everything they have, trusted with everything they have, done everything right according to what they were taught, and yet still wakes up every morning feeling like they're standing still while the whole world moves forward. I know what that feels like. I know you've had evenings where you sat alone in your car after leaving church or after putting your phone down, and you asked quietly, only inside your own head, a question you were too afraid to say out loud. Lord, are you still here with me? Or have I already been left behind? And what hurts you more than anything, it isn't God's silence. It's that you kept trusting despite His silence. You kept praying even though the answer hadn't come. You kept carrying on, kept standing firm, kept holding everything together for the people around you, while inside, a part of you had been broken for a long time. And you haven't told anyone, because you don't want to become a burden, because you're afraid that if others saw you in your true state, not the strong version, not the always smiling version, not the I'm fine version, they would be disappointed in you, or they would leave you. But today I want to say something directly to you that I am certain God Himself wants you to hear. You are not forgotten. You are not left behind. And all those months and days you have waited in the darkness, all those tears, all those silent prayers, they have not been wasted. Not a single second. I will explain to you why. And I will show you that your waiting season is not punishment. It is preparation. And that preparation is nearly complete. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what I share in the final part, the seventh sign, is what I believe God specifically wants you to hear today. If you are in a long, exhausting season of waiting, type I am here in the comments right now. That is your declaration that you have not given up. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly, not for me, but for yourself. Do you remember the last time you genuinely believed everything would be okay? Not the okay you tell other people to end a conversation, but that real sense of peace inside, when you knew with certainty, without needing proof, that God was walking with you and everything was in His hands. Do you remember when that last was? For many people listening to me right now, the answer is, it's been a very long time. And that is not a sign of your weakness. It is proof that you have been fighting for a very long time, very hard, and very quietly. Let me paint the picture again for you. Not to reopen wounds, but so you know I truly understand where you are. There are mornings when you wake up and that heaviness is already waiting for you before you even have a chance to remember why you feel heavy. Like an invisible stone placed on your chest in the very first second your eyes open. You drink your coffee, you get ready for work, you reply to messages, you smile at the right moments, say the right things. On the outside, people look at you and see someone who is doing fine, even someone who is strong. But inside you are running on empty in a way no words can quite describe. I know you have prayed for something specific. Maybe it's about finances. Maybe it's about a relationship. Maybe it's about your health or the health of someone you love. Maybe it's about a door of opportunity that you know God promised. And you have prayed, not once, not for 1 month, but for years. You have been patient. You have trusted. You have done everything you were taught to do. But the answer still hasn't come. And in your weakest moments, those nights lying alone, when the whole house is quiet and there is only you and the darkness and the sound of your own sighing, you've asked yourself, what if I misunderstood? What if I heard wrong? What if God is trying to tell me something I'm not wise enough to understand? And then, the most secret guilt of all, the question you don't even dare to pray out loud, sometimes sneaks into your mind. What if God is truly not here? I do not judge you for that. I am not disappointed in you for that. And I know with certainty that God is in either. Let me say this to you once, clearly and with confidence. Every sigh you have breathed out in the darkness has been heard. Every prayer you whispered when tears had stolen your voice has been gathered up. Every night you thought you were praying and God wasn't listening, He was listening to every word, every breath, every silence. God is not silent because He doesn't care. God is silent because He is working at a depth that the naked eye cannot see. And today, I want to lead you into that depth. Type, God hears me, if you need this reminder today. I want to tell you about a man, not a character in a movie, not a story polished to look beautiful. This is the story of a real person recorded in the Bible. And as I tell this story, I want you to listen not as if it were a history lesson, but as if you were hearing your own story being told back to you. That man's name was Elijah. Elijah was a prophet, one of the most powerfully anointed figures in the entire Old Testament. He prayed, and it did not rain for 3.5 years. He stood before 450 false prophets and challenged them before all of Israel. He called fire down from heaven. Literally, fire from heaven. This was a man chosen by God. This was a man who lived in intimate contact with divine power. And then, immediately after the greatest victory of his life, immediately after the moment fire fell from heaven and an entire nation fell to its knees crying out to God, Elijah ran. He ran into the desert, and he lay down under a juniper tree and begged to die. Read that again. The man who had just witnessed fire from heaven, who had just stood firm before 450 enemies. That man lay down under a tree and said to God, "Lord, it is enough. Please take my life." Do you know why Elijah prayed that? Not because he was weak, not because he lacked faith. He prayed that because he was tired, truly tired. The exhaustion that comes after you have given everything, after you have fought with all your strength, stood firm when there was nothing left to hold on to, and then realized there is nothing left inside you. And what God did next, this is what I want you to pay attention to. God did not preach at Elijah. God did not ask him why he was so weak. God did not say, "You need more faith." God did not say, "Look at everything I have done for you," in a tone of judgment. God sent an angel, and that angel touched him and said, "Arise and eat." That was all. Arise and eat. No sermon on patience, no list of things Elijah needed to do. God simply saw a tired man, and he responded to that tiredness with care. With warm bread and a cool jar of water placed right beside him. But the story doesn't stop there. And the next part, this is the part I really want you to hear. After Elijah ate and slept, the angel came a second time and said, "Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you." And Elijah got up, ate and drank, and in the strength of that meal, he traveled 40 days and 40 nights to Mount Horeb, the mountain of God. 40 days. From a man who had begged to die under a juniper tree. I want you to understand what is happening here. God did not save Elijah by immediately changing his circumstances. God saved Elijah by providing him with just enough strength for the next step. Not for the whole journey, not for all 40 days, just enough for the next step. And that is precisely what God is doing for you today. He is not asking you to see the whole road. He is not asking you to understand the entire plan. He is simply saying, "Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you." This video is that meal. This is the strength for your next step. But before we continue, I want to ask you one question, and this is the most important question you will ask yourself today. Where are you in Elijah's story right now? Are you under the juniper tree, too tired to even want to try anymore? Or are you on the road to Mount Horeb, still going, still walking, even though you don't know what is waiting up ahead? Wherever you are, here is what I want you to know. God knows, and He is not far. Type, "I am still standing," if you are continuing the journey, even in exhaustion. Let that comment become your declaration of faith today. And now, I want to share with you 7 signs that your waiting season is not punishment, it is preparation. That God has not forgotten you. He is building you. That the silence you are experiencing is not His absence. It is His work happening at a depth you have not yet seen. Listen to each one and notice which one speaks most about you. Sign number 1. You have lost people you thought would be by your side forever. In the past few years, or the past few months, there are people who have left your life. It hasn't always involved clear betrayal. Sometimes it was just a gradual growing apart. Sometimes a quiet disconnection. And you have grieved that. You have prayed about it. You have asked yourself what you did wrong. But here is what few people will say plainly to you. Not every parting is a loss. Sometimes God must remove connections that no longer fit the person you are becoming. Not because those people are bad, but because your rate of growth and theirs are no longer in sync. People can be good and still not be the ones God has chosen for the next season of your life. The loneliness you feel in this season is not punishment. It is the space God is creating for you to draw closer to Him and for Him to build the right connections for the road ahead. Signs 3 and 6 are two signs that very few people recognize. I'll share them right after this. Sign number 2. The things that used to comfort you no longer work. You've noticed that the ways you used to numb your pain, whether scrolling social media, watching shows, staying constantly busy, eating, or even going to church out of habit, none of those things fill the emptiness inside you anymore. That might frighten you, but I want you to hear this. This is not a sign that you are losing your faith. This is a sign that you are maturing spiritually. When surface-level things no longer satisfy you, that is your soul craving something more real, more deep, more true. God is creating within you a thirst that cannot be quenched by anything but Himself. And that thirst, as uncomfortable as it feels, is one of the greatest graces He can give you. Sign number 3. You are going through an identity shift you don't yet have a name for. Something is changing in the way you see yourself, but you don't yet know how to name it. You are no longer the person you used to be, but you are not yet fully the person you are becoming. You are in between, and that in between can feel very lonely and very unsettled. In psychology, this is called an identity transition. It typically comes with a sense of disorientation, a disconnection from things that once felt familiar, and a strange feeling that you no longer fully belong to any group. The Bible calls this process by another name: shedding the old skin. This is the process of the caterpillar inside the cocoon. It is dark, cramped, and uncomfortable, but it is what must happen before the wings can appear. The instability you feel in your sense of self is not a sign that you've gone off track. It is a sign that you are growing in a way that your old definition of yourself can no longer contain you. Sign number 4. You are being forced to face fears you have long avoided. In this waiting season, things you had pushed deep down inside are beginning to rise to the surface. Old wounds from the past you thought were behind you. Fears you had learned to cover with busyness. Questions about yourself that you were afraid to look at directly. This is not comfortable. But here is the truth. God is not allowing those things to surface in order to torment you. He is allowing them to surface so they can be healed. You cannot heal what you do not acknowledge, and the silence of this waiting season is forcing you to sit with those wounds, not so you will sink in them, but so that you can finally be free from them. Psychologists call this exposure, the act of facing. It is the most essential part of the healing process. And God is doing it as gently as He possibly can, in His protection and His companionship. Sign number 5. You are being tested on what you truly believe. Faith is never tested when everything is going the right way. Faith is only tested and proven when everything around you is collapsing and you still choose to trust. And in this season, you are being asked the deepest question a person of faith can be asked. If God never gives you what you are asking for, will you still love Him? If the circumstances never change, will your faith still stand? That question is not torture. It is refinement. Gold is tested through fire, not to be destroyed, but to have everything that is not true gold removed. Your faith is being refined, and when it passes through this fire and remains whole, that is a faith that nothing will ever be able to shake again. Sign 6 is one I have never heard anyone preach about in this way. And sign 7, that is what I believe God specifically wants you to hear today. Stay with me. Sign number 6. Something inside you refuses to settle for less. You've realized that you simply can't anymore. Can't continue relationships that only exist out of habit. Can't continue staying in jobs, environments, or social circles that no longer fit the version of yourself you are becoming. You have tried to settle, but a part of you keeps rising up against that compromise. Most people look at that uprising and think it is arrogance or being difficult or ingratitude. But I want to tell you the opposite. This is the voice of your soul refusing to die. God has placed within you a vision of the person you were created to become. And when you try to shrink yourself to fit into smaller molds, your soul resists. Not because you are prideful, but because you were created for something greater, and deep inside, you know it. Do not betray that voice. Do not extinguish it. That is the internal compass God has placed within you to lead you back in the right direction. Sign number 7. You are still here, and that changes everything. The final sign, and perhaps the simplest, but also the most powerful, is this. You are still here. You have been through all of that, all those years, all those wounds, all those longest dark nights, and you are still here. You are still watching this video. You are still seeking answers. You have not given up. That is not ordinary. Many people gave up long ago. Many people chose to walk away from faith, from God, from hope, over things lighter than what you have endured. But you are still here, and that is not a coincidence. That is grace. That is proof that God is holding you, even when you feel you have no strength left to hold yourself. That is proof that your story is not over. In fact, the best part of your story may not have even begun yet. Type, "I am still here" in the comments right now. This is not just a comment. This is your declaration to heaven and earth that you have not given up. But I must speak plainly to you about something. While God is doing all that work in your life, while He is building you, refining you, preparing you, there is a battle happening in parallel. And that battle is not occurring outside of you. It is happening inside your mind. I want you to recognize the greatest enemy in this waiting season. It is not your circumstances. It is not the people who have hurt you. The greatest enemy in this season is the voices inside your head. You know those voices. They say things like, maybe you're not good enough to receive what you're asking for. Maybe God gave up on you a long time ago and you just haven't realized it yet. Look at that person. Their life is going so well. Why not yours? You've been praying too long. Maybe this isn't God's will. In cognitive psychology, these are called automatic negative thoughts. They appear without invitation. They repeat with enough speed and force to begin to become what you believe is the truth. But here is what you need to know about those voices. They are liars. Not every thought in your head is the truth. Not every feeling you experience reflects reality. Feeling abandoned does not mean you are truly abandoned. Feeling hopeless does not mean your situation is truly hopeless. The Bible says in Romans chapter 12, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Not change the circumstances first and then the mind will follow, but renew the mind first and the circumstances will follow. The most important battle in your waiting season is not the battle with outside circumstances. It is the battle to keep your mind from being occupied by lies. And to win that battle, you need to learn to recognize which voice is truth and which voice is the enemy disguised as truth. God's voice always leads to peace, even when He asks you to do something hard. The enemy's voice always leads to fear, shame, and the loss of hope. Learn to tell them apart. And when you hear the voice that shames you, the voice that says you are not good enough, the voice that says nothing will ever change, name it. That is not the voice of your Heavenly Father. Type, "I refuse the lies," if you are ready to release those voices of shame today. I want to do something with you right now. Not teach, not explain. I just want to talk with you, person to person. You have been carrying too much for too long. And I'm not talking about outward responsibilities, though I know those are heavy too. I'm talking about the burdens you carry inside, the things you haven't said to anyone, the questions you haven't dared to speak aloud, the wounds you have learned to live alongside rather than heal. And today I want to invite you to put one thing down. Not everything, just one thing. Think of the heaviest thing you are carrying right now. The thing that, when you think of it, your chest tightens. The thing you have prayed about more times than you can count. The thing you sometimes wonder will ever change. What is that thing for you? Let it sit in your mind right now. Don't push it away. Don't try to answer it or solve it. Just let it be there and hear what I am about to say. God sees that. He sees exactly what you are thinking about right now. And He is not looking at it with disappointment or judgment. He is looking at it with the love of a father looking at his exhausted child. He wants you to know this. What you are praying for is not forgotten. It is being worked on in ways you cannot see from where you are standing. And the moment the answer comes, it will not be what you expected. It will be larger. It will be more perfect. It will make sense in a way that everything you waited through will finally have meaning. And now, I want to invite you to do one very simple thing. Say quietly, only in your heart, no one else needs to hear, these 3 words. I trust you. Not, I trust you because everything is going the right way. Not, I trust you because I understand your plan. Just, I trust you. Without seeing, without understanding. Though you have waited too long, I trust you. That is real faith. Not faith when things are easy, but faith in the darkness, faith in the middle of waiting, faith when you have no evidence except His love. And faith like that faith is never put to shame. Type, I trust you in the comments. Let that be the declaration from deep within your heart today. I want to close with this. Elijah, the man who lay under the juniper tree and begged to die, was eventually called to Mount Horeb. And on that mountaintop, in complete stillness, not in the great wind, not in the earthquake, not in the fire, God spoke to him in a still, small voice. And what God said to him was not judgment, not a list of tasks. The first thing God asked him was, Elijah, what are you doing here? That is the question of a father who cares about his child. Not the question of a judge. What are you doing here? Tell me. Show me your heart. And after hearing Elijah pour out all his pain, all his exhaustion, all his despair, God did not dismiss him. He simply gave him a new assignment, a new direction, and told him, arise and go. Arise and go. Not arise and pretend nothing hurts. Not arise and act as though you were never under that tree. But arise from right where you are, with the wounds still there, with the questions still unanswered, and go in the direction God is pointing. And today, I believe God is saying that to you. Not wait longer, not keep sitting still, but the time has come. I have prepared you enough for the next season. Now arise and go. Your next step may not be a great leap forward. Maybe it is just a small step. Send that email. Call that friend. Write down the idea you have held inside for too long. Sign up for that course. Begin tomorrow morning in a different way. The next step doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be a step forward. And God will be there in every step. Thank you for staying with me through all of this. If this video has touched you in any way, if any one of those 7 signs speaks to your journey, I want you to do 3 small things. 1. Type Amen in the comments. That is your declaration that you stand in agreement with this message. 2. Like this video. That is not supporting me. That is your way of telling the algorithm that this message needs to reach more people who need to hear it. 3. Share this video with someone you know who is in a waiting season. That is the simplest and most powerful act of love you can do today. And if you want to continue this journey, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the messages ahead. We are here every week, and we are here for you. Your journey is not over. In fact, it is about to begin. May God bless you and keep you. May God make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May God turn His face toward you and give you peace. Amen.